Program continues.
Wow. Oh, it's always such a fun day. Get a hold of us online at jiggyjaguar.com. That's JIGGYJAGUAR.com. 50 plus AM FM stations across the country and around the world. KFRK in Denver, and we have got a great guest joining us today here on the telephone. Author A.J. Rice is with us. A.J., how are you, sir?
James Lowe, my Jiggy brother. What's poppin'?
Now, you have got quite the book here. Let's talk about your latest book. This is getting rave reviews. In fact, I think every week Sandra Lee puts you over like nobody's business in her. She does a segment for us every week, and before she starts, she always goes, "Oh, my God, have you read the latest A.J. Rice book?"
Oh, I know, but I know she's been. I'll wake up in the morning and she'll have texted me a passage from my own book back to me. I'm like, what? She's up at 3 a.m. thinking about me, Jiggy. What's happening here?
Hey, I'll tell you, the book is phenomenal. Tell me a little bit about your writing process and how you brought this to life.
Well, look, what I noticed, especially during COVID, is that the country, the medical virus, and, it had us locked down. It had, things on our faces. They were shutting down proms, shutting down graduations. People were moving their weddings. They told us when and where we couldn't go. It was really a dress rehearsal of authoritarianism. And, what I noticed while that was happening was that there was a second virus afoot, a cultural one. And, this was one that while we're locked down, they're going to wokeism into us in various forms. The Me Too movement, cancel culture, the critical race theory nonsense in the schools and in the colleges, and then obviously all the other sort of, buzzword garbage that comes with wokeism, intersectionality and, patriarchy and white privilege, virtue signaling. So I was just like, okay. So basically, they capture us with one virus, and then they try to re-educate us with the other. And I call it a Vogue virus because, for the most part, we see this. We've seen waves of this before, and it usually does have an expiration date. The political correctness movement of the 1990s was certainly the last time it was somewhat bad. So I had to get out there. You know me, I'm a behind-the-scenes guy. We appreciate you. We appreciate your audience, putting our people on. But I figured it was time for the Wizard of Oz to come out from behind the curtain.
We've got A.J. Rice with us today. He is a fantastic author, and he joins us today here on our big program. So, A.J., what has been the feedback that you've gotten on this book so far?
Well, look, the book has hit number one on Amazon, in multiple categories, almost every day, a new category. I think we're number one in a couple right now. People are buying the book. They love it. Obviously, as you know, I work with members of the media. Some of them are very well-known names. Some you know, some you didn't know till James Lowe had them on the show. And now they're regulars, right? So, overall, pretty positive. What I'm finding is that if you get outside of the Trump-Biden box, and I do, look, there is a section on the Republicans and a section on the Democrats in the book, but the other 8 sections are pretty much timeless. And what I'm finding is there's a lot of people that maybe don't agree with James Lowe and Rice on tax cuts or immigration or trade, but they agree with us on this. They agree with us on this because they're having their funds sucked from them. They're having actors replaced for parts. They're having shows canceled. They're having comedians canceled. And they're having, real revisionist history garbage being fed to their children. the Founding Fathers are terrible. They came for Lee and his horse Traveler, and then they came for the Founding Fathers. They're all a bunch of Klansmen, slaveholders. Jefferson's gone, and Madison's gone, and Monroe's gone. Washington will be gone soon. And then they came for General Lee, and then they came for Lincoln, and then they came for Teddy Roosevelt. I mean, they're working their way up to you, James Lowe.
Well, they've tried on a few occasions of taking care of me, but I'm like a virus. I'm just still here.
AJ everywhere.
AJ Rice with us today. He joins us live here on our Big Pro. And AJ, this book, incredibly well written. Tell me a little bit about some of the things that you included in the book and some of the things that you didn't include in the book.
Well, I mean, the book's, it's the sequel to War and Peace. No, I'm joking. It's not. People have been giving me a hard time because there's so much citation at the end. They're like, oh, the book's 400 pages. Look, it's not 400 pages. There's about 100 pages of citations at the back. I'm an old school English literature guy, so I do my due diligence when it comes to putting something together. Look, the fun thing about the book, and I'm part of the short attention span theater generation. You don't have to read it cover to cover, right? So you've got 10 sections. You've got, about 97 different vignettes. Some are funny, some are insightful, some are horrifying. And so you can jump around, right? You can do a nugget here, a nugget there, and have some fun with it. And it all sort of ties together under one theme. It is volume 1, James, so whatever I leave out, I'll put in volume 2, okay?
That's awesome.
I think I might get you to write volume 2. We'll make this thing like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where there's a different star for each volume. But what I'll say is this. The thing that got me going, that really spurned me on this, I deal with a lot of stand-up comics. I put people on their shows. I've represented them. And what a lot of libertarians, even philosophers, have said over the years is that if your comedians are scared, then you have an authoritarian society. The second they're scared, because the second you can't mock your leaders, the second you get run off stage, then you have fascism afoot. And I don't care whether it's George Carlin on the stage, who's not exactly a right-wing guy. He's not with us anymore, but people like that, or you've got like Larry the Cable Guy. If you're running comedians out of comedy clubs, like recently Dave Chappelle had to transfer his show in Minneapolis from one club to another because the LGBTQ mafia was going to do a hit on the club. Okay? So where we're at, for me, I was reading a story about Venezuela and Maduro and Chavez, the regime that's there. And this story was about basically how these comedy clubs were operating underground like speakeasies. And they were goofing on the president. And basically what would happen is, word would get out that they're the illegal comedy club operating. And the jackboots, the Chavista jackboots would show up and bust up the place and start arresting people. So, look, there's a whole group of people that would love to arrest Dave Chappelle for making fun of trans people or Ricky Gervais for making fun of everybody. And I guess the question is, if you're a comedian starting out tomorrow, are you going to comply? If you're just, look, if you're trying to earn a living, you're probably going to start tailoring your jokes to the Walking Dead because you're afraid of them. They may deplatform you. They may shadow ban you, or they may, jump on stage and try to attack you, like what happened to Dave Chappelle about 90 days ago. And isn't it interesting, James? I want your listeners to think about this. Cancel culture doesn't have to come always in the form of left-wing radicals. It can come in the form of Islamic radicals. Because Salman Rushdie was basically canceled 33 years in the making. If you think for 1 second a fatwa is not cancel culture, it absolutely is.
Oh, yeah.
When a man jumps on stage with Lee Zeldin, some drunk guy that doesn't like what he's saying about the Veterans Affairs, Zeldin's a retired member of the military, and he jumps on stage with a knife. So they jump on stage with Chappelle with a knife. They attack Salman Rushdie. They jump on stage with a knife stabbing weapon with Lee Zeldin. They give out Supreme Court justices' addresses. This is a chilling effect, James, and this is all the inevitable conclusion of cancel culture. If they can't get rid of you digitally, they may come find you physically.
Well, AJ, before we let you go, I know that you're en route somewhere. Before we let you go, how do people get the book and get involved with what you're doing online?
Well, look, the book hasn't been shadow banned yet. I've got a great publisher, Post Hill Press. Simon & Schuster's the distributor. You can get the book, everywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, booksamillion.com, Target.com, Walmart.com, everywhere. So, get yourself a copy. Get ready to fight the Woking Dead at the polls this November. Go to the polls. Send Pelosi and Schumer packing. Wave a copy of the Woking Dead around in those phony poll watchers' faces.
Fantastic. Well, you are amazing, as always. Thanks for doing this, brother, and I will talk to you soon.
We love you, Jiggy. Anytime.
Thank you, man. There he goes. That is A.J. Rice.